Gummi, nice to see you again here in Iceland.
Yeah, nice to see you.
And usually the first question what journalists ask a musician is what does the name of your band mean and why did you choose that name? But I guess you did it because it was your decision of the musicians. And everyone can Google what Katla means. It is a huge volcano that's located on the sound of Iceland, so it's easy to see what it is. But there is one special thing about the volcano that it doesn't end with the word Eldfjall, which means a volcano, and usually in Iceland, the nature objects are named with the ending of what it is. So why Katla isn't named like this?
There's actually not that many volcanoes in Iceland that have an ending in Eldfjall. Actually, Eldfjall is just what it is. Eldfjall just literally means volcano. But I mean, you have like Katla, Hekla, Krafla, even Eyjafjallajökull. Like all of these are volcanoes. There's very few volcanoes with that ending. There is actually one called Eldfell, but that's just the name of the volcano itself. So, like literally speaking, Eldfjall or Eldfell just means fire mountain in Icelandic. So it's not something that we put at the end of volcanoes at all. Well, maybe a few exceptions, except just if it's just a name like Eldfell in the north of Iceland. I think you were there recently, in the Mývatn area.
Yeah, we were there.
But so yeah, usually that's not the case. So Katla is a kind of a very typical name for an Icelandic volcano because it derives from the word ketill, which means caldera. So it basically just kind of describes what it is. But Katla is also a very common female name in Iceland, and there is actually something that we kind of wanted to do because we wanted to break from the kind of norm of metal bands being all, masculine about, drinking beer and having wars and, Satan and shit like that. So we thought it would be kind of a nice touch to use a female name.
So it seems like you like that place because in some previous interviews you already mentioned Katla and you were speaking about the coming possible eruption of Katla. So it can be that you are interested in that very place.
Yeah, of course we were hoping that Katla would erupt in, when was the album released? October 2017. It did not, so I'm sure it will erupt next time when our next album is out. But yeah, I mean, for me it's also like a personal connection because I've been there many times and you probably know this, I work as a tour guide in Iceland and I drive kind of off-road vehicles and I go all over. I've been up, Katla is actually covered in a glacier called Mýrdalsjökull. I've been there many times and same with Hekla actually, which is a volcano nearby, and I remember when we formed the band I said to Einar, hey Einar, you can choose either we call the band Katla or Hekla. That was his two only choices. He chose Katla, but both of them have a kind of a personal attachment to me. So, just from being out there all the time.
And while choosing the name, so both of these words are pretty simple. So were you thinking that it's a pretty easy word for a foreigner who doesn't know Icelandic?
Yeah, I mean that was also one of the reasons, really. I mean, we didn't want to choose a name like Eyjafjallajökull, which is a famous volcano in Iceland, but nobody can pronounce it. So Katla and Hekla, both of them really simple to pronounce. Both beautiful names, and like I said, both of them are also common female names in Iceland. So yeah, I would have been happy with either one. Maybe today I would rather go with Hekla because what I didn't know is that I just thought, like Katla being an Icelandic volcano, I know that there are no bands in Iceland called Katla. So we didn't think about it, but then we found out there's one in Finland and one in Denmark or something like that. I'm like, why the fuck are you naming your band after an Icelandic volcano. You live in a country with no volcanoes. Like just name it Himmelberg or whatever you have in Denmark. You know. So, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We can't change it now.
You mentioned that you've been there in Katla, near Katla, many times, and are there any trips you remember the most?
Yeah, there was one where I was in the vicinity of Katla. There was one where I was in the vicinity of Katla, basically at its roots in the summer of 2016. And there are actually many. Sorry, there's many glacial rivers there, and before these volcanoes start to erupt, especially the big volcanoes like Katla that are underneath the glacier, usually you'll have the rivers start to grow water simply because the ice is being melted from underneath because of the geothermal heat, and with that comes a lot of like a very strong smell of sulfur. So you can really smell the sulfur. So I was there in a particular day in 2016 when you could really smell the sulfur in the air, and there was actually some real concern that the volcano was gonna go off, but did not happen. It probably will soon though, because it is overdue. It used to erupt every 60 to 80 years. Now it has been 100 years since last October. So yeah, that was kind of memorable.
So you are also a driver and you're a guide. So you are traveling a lot around your country. And can you say that you already have seen the entire Iceland, or there are some new places you can still go to?
I don't think anybody can say that they've seen everything in Iceland. There are so many places, especially up in the Central Highlands, that just are difficult to get to, and there's a few places in the Central Highlands that I know of that I haven't been to. And then there's always like, when do you say that you've been to everything? Is it like, have you been to every major tourist destination, or have you literally seen every single waterfall in Iceland? Like, I don't think anybody can say that. Just to give you an idea, do you know how many waterfalls there are in Iceland?
Must be a lot.
If you had to guess, how many would you think there are?
I don't know.
Not that much, but...
I have been thinking about 1,000 or several thousands, because when we were traveling along, there were just a lot of small...
I mean, what counts as a waterfall? Every single little waterfall?
That's actually a good question. I've asked that question myself, because like Gullfoss, it falls in two separate, is that two waterfalls? I don't know, but there is a man in Iceland who is an expert in waterfalls. I don't know how you get that title to be an expert in waterfalls, but he is. He says there's 11,000 something waterfalls in Iceland. So just to give you an idea about that, how impossible it is to see everything, because it depends on what you call everything. I've been to every major tourist place in Iceland, obviously. I've been to most of the places where most people don't go on, but there's still some places I haven't been to. So, it's my first time in this apartment, for example, so I obviously haven't seen everything.
So now about your music, and there are already 2 concerts that are confirmed, where Katla will perform. As far as I understand, one will be in Germany and one in Belgium. So what do you feel about it, and how do you feel about performing soon after a break?
That's actually 3. The first one will be in Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. To be honest, don't look forward to it. No, I like playing live. Like those, 45, 50, whatever minutes that you're on the stage. That's fun, but then you got all the other shit, Like, I like traveling, but traveling because you're touring with a band isn't the same as traveling as a tourist, You got all your gear and shit, and then, waiting in backstage rooms and stuff like that. Like I don't know, you gotta take the good with the bad. I like playing live. I like meeting people, but there's a whole lot of other things about it that I don't miss at all. So I don't know, we'll just see. I'm sure we're gonna like it when we start doing it, but I don't think we're gonna be doing much touring, just some festivals, you know.
So 3 concerts is not that much. So
No. We'll probably do more next year. I mean, in fact, we actually have a couple of gigs already booked for 2020. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what right now, but they have to be announced first. So that's just more and more how the business is working now that they're booking like more than a year in advance. And we decided quite late, like, hey, okay, let's give it a try. So basically, those 3 gigs were just booked very quickly. But we will most likely have a new album out late this year, maybe early next year, but definitely before the summer 2020. So I'm sure we'll do more festivals in 2020.
So there will be more practice. Do you consider touring as practice?
Yeah, of course, you know, it is. It's the best kind of practice, really. You know, when you're in a band that plays every single night for a month, that like makes a band tighter than any practice in a practice room, you know. So yeah, it's the best practice you get. But yeah, we still haven't had a single rehearsal, so let's see. Of course, love to have some exhibitions. Not really with the photos that I take when I'm traveling, but like the ones that I consider my kind of real photos, like my art. I have been contacting a few galleries, and but you know, the music world is one thing, and then the art world is another thing. And as hard as it is to get into the music world, it's even more hard to get into the art world. And like, it doesn't matter that I might have what kind of a name in the music world, I don't have any in the art world. So I'm just basically taking my first steps there, and yeah, hopefully I'll have some exhibitions. If you know any galleries in Russia that you'll have me, I'll definitely come.
Okay.
Maybe, because
Yeah.
a photographer from Iceland is still something exotic for us.
Yeah, maybe I should see if I can find any connections there. That'd be cool. Then maybe finally I get to go to Russia.
We have plenty of museums and plenty of art galleries and plenty of people who like various kinds of art.
Ja. Hefur að fara til Rússlands? Hefur að fara til Rússlands? No, he doesn't want to go to Russia. Sorry, guys.
Maybe
He
sometime
said
later.
no. Yeah, maybe later.
So recently, while we were here in Iceland, we were traveling, and recently the band named Rammstein, they released their second video, which was one of the first for many years since their previous releases. And have you seen those videos, or are you interested in that band?
What bands are in here?
Rammstein.
Rammstein, sorry. I saw it today, actually.
Yeah,
just
right.
today. Yeah. I like it. I'm a huge Rammstein fan. I really like it. This is Rammstein. It's like, I don't understand when people are like, oh, this is nothing new. Like, of course it's nothing new. It's just Rammstein. It's like, do you expect something new from Slayer? I mean, it's just, these are formula bands that just do what they do, but they do it well. And I think with Rammstein, though, they never release their best songs as singles. Like, from the last 3-4 albums, you always hear the singles first and you think, this is not going to be a good album. Then it's all the songs that are usually better, like, in my opinion at least. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the whole new Rammstein album. So this year we might actually have a new Rammstein album and a new Tool album, so, you know, two of my favorite bands, so that would be nice.
But it seems like everyone in Iceland speaks English so well. I've been in Germany a few weeks before, and no one wanted to speak English to me because Germans were trying to speak German to me. I spoke English to them, and we somehow understood each other. But here in Iceland, everyone looks brilliantly educated in English.
Yeah, you know, I think that's simply because of TV. Like in Germany, they dub the TV material in German, so they don't hear English being spoken.
And here we don't have dubbed.
No, we just have subtitles.
Subtitles.
Yeah, so like when I was a kid, even a lot of the children's material was in English.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I started to read the subtitles, that's really how I learned English. Is the best way to learn. You just hear the language and then you read the
Yeah, I
subtitles.
didn't know that you have that natural way of learning. Because back in Russia we learn with the books and the grammar exercise and so on. And it's very interesting about the reason why everyone is so good at English.
Yeah, you also do dub the like movies and stuff in Russia, don't you?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And and do you have the dubbed movies in cinemas or?
No.
No,
We don't do this at all. We do it now with like children's material.
Oh.
But when I was a kid, even the children's material was mostly in English. And all the movies and everything is mostly in English.
Okay,
So
now I get the clue. Why?
yeah. And of course, you know, being such a small nation, there's 340,000 of us.
Oh.
We wouldn't get very far in the world if we would just speak Icelandic, you know. Not even the other Scandinavian nations understand Icelandic, so we have to know good English.
But actually, speaking your own language is very important and beautiful.
Yeah, it is, and I think most Icelanders want to preserve the Icelandic language. But like, I mean, I love the Icelandic language, and like, you know, for example, I mean, all my music is in Icelandic, even though like, even though like, you know, 99% of the people that listen to my music, they don't understand the lyrics. It's still very important for me that the lyrics are in my own language. But at the same time, I still see the importance of speaking good English. You know? So you can have both, I think.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.